Welcome along, my aspiring allies, and thank you for joining me on this most recent episode of the Speaking of Inclusion podcast. Today, I am joined by Hacia Atherton, and she is the author of The $1 Billion Blind Spot. She's also principal consultant at All Star Consulting and a globally recognized speaker and reformer in workplace leadership and culture. Now, Hacia survived a near fatal horse riding accident, and she used that experience and transformed her personal adversity into a mission for systemic change. And she's also founder of Empowered Women in Trades in an effort to drive gender equity across male-dominated environments. Now, I do have a little bit of a confession to make in this episode in that I did forget to press record at the start. So we do dive right in accompaniment with a lot of laughter from myself and Hacia when she highlighted this fact to me, because she is the professional that I am ever aspiring to be. Luckily, we did get ourselves back on track and get back to talking about performance and inclusive culture and showing that well-being is not a cost, it is a competitive edge. So without further ado, you know the drill. Please sit back, relax, and get comfortable in whichever way works best for you. And please welcome Hacia Atherton to the Speaking of Inclusion podcast. As soon as this starts recording, I am actually, right, this is going to be the one podcast that is going to go out immediately when the recording starts, because I have to now let everybody know I forgot to press record, and I started talking and recording the podcast, and Hacia turns around and says, have you pressed record?
Before I answer that question, have we actually pressed record?
So what I was talking about was being the professional. And I feel like I've just seamlessly blended that into the podcast. So this is, welcome along,
welcome everyone to our conversation.
Welcome along to the Speaking of Inclusion podcast. You're lucky you've got this episode because it nearly took place with nobody knowing but me and Hacia. So that is the first time I've ever done that. And I'm definitely going to put this entire thing in now. Because this is podcasting, right? This is real.
This is real. Okay. This is business. This is inclusion. This is pivoting. This is everything. So this is success.
So
this is what success looks like.
Now what I will do is I will loop back, and I'll just, for the benefit of people that weren't here the first time I asked Hacia a question. Oh God, I'm so glad you're on it, love. I really am. I'm going to go back to the beginning. Yes. So I am joined today by Hacia Atherton. She will have already had an introduction that I will have put on the front. And we were talking about we were talking about a lot of things. So sorry that you missed all of that. We were talking about accounting and cat memes and how they go together. And I guess we'll come back to that maybe if we've got time later. But we were also talking about the fact that Hacia is a fifth generation of her own family plumbing business. So we were talking about kind of the intersection of working in an industry, in a trades industry, understanding the ins and outs of family-run businesses as well as, like, it's not just you have a role, right? You have a role, you have to run the entire business, and you have to do it with people in your family. So that's interesting. As well as being a woman and a woman with ADHD. So we were kind of getting onto the intersection of all of those things. So then I was just going to let Hacia go. So should we try again, Hacia?
We shall.
On those things.
Yeah, the dynamics of growing up in a fifth generation plumbing family and business is so interesting, because you grow up with this sense of pride, this sense of what the family has done before that created the privilege that I now enjoy. So I got to go to a private school. On my school holidays, I got to come in and do work experience in the family business. So even from the age of 7, I was sitting on the receptionist desk answering the phones. And the clients were going through to people going, "How old is your receptionist? She sounds very young." And that's the beauty, I think, around family businesses. You can bring a little bit of that fun, that joy, that family feeling into it. which is the positive. But then also, as well, brothers and sisters, daughters and fathers, sons and fathers squabble at the best of times. And in business, there's different perspectives as well. And when you have that deep emotional connection to a family member, you can often step over a line that you potentially wouldn't do if they weren't your blood. And that can create a lot of stress for everyone else in the business in the room that isn't blood related because we forgive, we love each other. We all sit down at Christmas at the end of the day and let bygones be bygones. But other people are like, is this tension going to affect my job or different things like that? So, what my family has been really good at doing, and my dad specifically, is just really bringing in that leadership and really putting that employee focus first. So, kind of keep the family tension behind the closed doors in the bedroom, in not the bedroom, in the boardroom.
That's a different
That's
topic.
different. In the boardroom. And I really respect my father's leadership in that of we understand there's challenges, but we keep those challenges off the factory floor and out of the public display as well, and always putting first the well-being of the employees. But saying my dad always, and he still does, he's 82, he'll walk around the factory floor and say hello to the new apprentices and check into what's happening with some of the qualified tradespeople. And there's beautiful stories of some of the tradespeople that have worked for our company for close to 50 years. And they would say, your father helped us through our apprenticeships. We struggled with a lot of our written and schoolwork, and he would take time to help us and do everything like that. And that's the beautiful aspect of a family business that you often don't see in a business that has shareholders and boards and a CEO that's on a 3-year contract with bonuses and all of these kind of different structures that those larger companies get to have. So I had the privilege of growing up in that style of business. And that's very much influenced my leadership. And I love to bring that into anything that I do, as we were talking about the memes. Like, if we're going to have a really heavy duty kind of meeting, how can we kind of open that with the meme? My favorite meme when we're doing any finance stuff is of a cat with glasses and a calculator going, I've done the numbers and we can't afford the dog.
Which is funny. It's still funny.
Which is funny. And it makes me laugh every time we put it up on the screen.
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing all of it, because I think there's so many things that you touched on there that are actually really poignant. Firstly, I love that your father is still kind of active in staying engaged with the people that he employs. So it's like you've already explained beautifully there is the nucleus of the aspect that it is a family run business. So the family are responsible, but also there is the care of the people that come to work for you. And whilst I mean, I'm not really into saying, we treat our employees like family, because let's face it, your dad's never going to fire you, and they may have to fire other people. He might want to at times, but he's not going to do it. So there's that difference, but he taking the time still to stay connected, to treasure the relationships that he's nurtured with those people that have been his employees for all of that time, and that you are picking that kind of role modeling up around, actually, this has influenced me a lot, because I recognize the care and attention of what it takes to really build a workplace where people feel included. And I loved that you called out like the recognition that there are conversations that can take place between you as family members that can absolutely have an impact on people who maybe either don't understand the dynamic or don't possess the dynamic. And then that can leave them nervous. And I love that you are so aware of that you're like, we understand how this plays out, so we understand our role and our responsibility. I think that's a really like kicking off with a really strong message there for anyone else who might be working in a family run business.
Because any form of conversation, I think leaders in any style of business need to be very, very aware. Is this conversation, especially if it is a sensitive one, if it's a high tension one, if there's a lot of uncertainty that can create a lot of unanswered questions, being very conscious of who is in the room for that meeting. is it appropriate to have all of the people in that meeting? Is it appropriate to bring that topic up in a meeting that's your normal huddle? Or if the topic does come up, is it appropriate to answer the topic, or is it just say, look, at the moment, there's a lot of unanswered questions and I don't really want to answer until I've got some more certainty because I don't want to create more ambiguity in this space. And you can respectfully decline to answer the question if you think it's just going to put fuel on a fire. So regardless of the organization structure, I always advise leaders be very conscious in understanding the ripple effect of your conversations.
Definitely, yeah. It's hugely important, because even when in some organizations, when they have very flat org structures, there's still a power dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit, for the benefit of people listening and watching, give us a little bit of background, because I love that you've already alluded to, like, you were 7 and you were on the reception, so that's really set the scene well. You're like, I was in straight away, like from birth I've been employed. But talk us through some of the experiences you've had, particularly as well working in a kind of a trade industry like you do.
So very interesting career journey. So started off actually in law and decided after shadowing some female barristers, I wanted to be a commercial law barrister. And at the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed age of 18, seeing how those females were treated by other barristers and judges as well, and the gender discrimination that was happening there, I was kind of shocked because I thought, this is the legal industry, you know? So I thought, I don't really want to come to work all day, every day dealing with that, nor do I want to be fighting for my clients with one hand tied behind my back because of the body I was born into. So I actually pivoted into doing fashion design. I was a model at the time, so went off into the more creative style and really enjoyed that industry. Again, I'm a very big self-reflective person and took note and thought, this is fun in my early 20s. Is this what I want my life to look like when I'm in my 40s? Probably not. And so pivoted back to what school told me, because I'm dyslexic, that words were never going to be my strong suit, which is ironic because now I'm a published author. So they were wrong, and went and did my financial planning qualifications and really enjoyed that style of job. Again, linking into the culture of the industry in Australia back then, we had a royal commission, and that's how bad it was. It was not about the clients, it was about making money and selling financial products that the company you were working for were producing. So I was always putting my clients in the right products to them, and often that wasn't the product, the company I was working for. So I was always getting disciplined and all of these kind of things, and started to get a lot of anxiety about coming to work, a lot of anxiety about seeing clients, and just decided that wasn't going to be the right career for me long term. So pivoted into accounting, finished off my bachelor's in commerce, majoring in accounting. And at that time, my dressage career started taking off. And I thought, at the end of the day, all I want to do is ride my horses. My dad sailed for Australia, so I wanted to get my green and gold jacket. And work is work. I'll just go punch out the numbers. Accounting is very structured. It's very easy. I can rock up really tired after like competing all weekend and just follow the processes and do the numbers and then go ride my horses and everything like that. So I was working in an accounting firm part-time and then working at my family company part-time. And what I loved about working at my family company, my dad said, now that you've got all of your business acumen, I want you to go down on the factory floor and really understand what that ecosystem's like. And that was such an interesting journey, because I went from this really confident woman who knew most of the tradespeople on the factory floor. But as soon as I put those steel cap boots on, that workwear, and something really shifted, and this massive internal dialogue of self-doubt came just flooding in. Definitely compounded by comments from society. When I would go and fill my car up, I would have comments like, I didn't know it was Halloween. Why you dressed up as a tradie, or look at that high vis candy, yum yum, and is it
Ooh.
laundry day? Why you wearing your boyfriend's clothes? And just these comments outside of my family company. The factory floor, of course, was not like that at all. And then there was a moment where I was learning to weld and was really, really struggling at the time. And the welding helmet came off, the tears came, and beautiful Johnny, who was working with me at the time, said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I can't do this. I'm a girl." And Johnny said, "It doesn't matter if the metal doesn't know if you're a girl or a guy. The welder doesn't know if you're a girl or a guy. You've just told yourself that. You're a human learning a new skill, and that's why you're struggling." And that was such a pivotal moment that just really hit me in the soul of what us as women are often telling ourselves, our own narrative of where we belong, what success looks for us, what we can and can't do. And yes, there's external systems that fuel that narrative, but we have a choice whether we tell that to ourselves and accept that external narrative, or if we put a stop to it and say, well, no, my internal world, I'm going to tell myself I am a human learning a new skill and I'm going to learn how to weld.
What a powerful experience, honestly, though, because that could have gone that whole conversation. Would you say it was Johnny who,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
well done, Johnny, right, for having enough wisdom to be so straight talking. Um, and I don't want to play into a stereotype, but in my head, I've got this beautiful Australian accent as well doing it, and like just really like straight talking. The metal doesn't know that you're a girl. Get on with it. Like, and
Yeah,
I like that so much. The reframe of like the problem is in your head, and that's what you need to deal with. Um,
exactly.
and actually, if I reflect on a lot of my experience as well from in petrochem, like the the stories we tell ourselves are definitely they come from somewhere, they come from society. That's what's planted them there, right? And all of the experiences we have, but we reinforce them, and then we get to choose what we do with them. And and I think it's fantastic that you had someone there that quite early on could nip that and go, hang on a minute, what's
Yeah.
this, and just hold that mirror up so you could make a different choice.
Yeah. And it was an example of beautiful masculine strength,
Yes.
of just calling it, standing there in a very positive masculine area, being like a strong no. I'm not going to let you run off on this narrative. I'm not going to let you run off into this emotional state that you've put yourself in unjustifiably. I'm going to stand here in my masculine strength and pull the reins on this situation, because I was going to my hyper feminine then of over emotional and everything like that. And that's the balance. And I do talk about in this book the beautiful balance of the healthy masculine and the healthy feminine. And he was so in his healthy masculine, he was able to ground me then, bring me back to my logical thinking, understand that what I was saying to myself was my responsibility and I need to take accountability for that. And in that moment, I really needed that healthy masculine to pull me away from just running off into what can be a very unhealthy feminine energy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm also curious to know, because that unhealthy feminine energy, I guess, can manifest very different. Maybe it's not, maybe it's when we as women try to channel the masculine energy as well in an unhealthy way, right? Because I know
Yes.
that I've definitely fallen foul of that, where
Yeah.
I've confused or conflated, um I guess, assertiveness with kind of
Mm-hmm.
various masculine traits, perhaps. And
Yeah.
actually, that's not a healthy manifestation at all.
No, definitely not. And especially women in male dominated environments. I've seen it. I've done it as well, thinking we have to man up and speak like the man or act like the man and everything like that to gain their respect, which is the kind of the opposite, because you're not being authentic to yourself. And that creates an undertone of distrust as well. So we can definitely, and as myself, I'm a very assertive woman, but I do it in a way where I would say, for example, if someone gave me an answer, I'll just say, that's actually not an acceptable answer. What I'm looking for, and give the constructive framework of how I would like to answer answered. And if you can't give that to me right now, I fully understand you need to go away, maybe look at your numbers or do things like that. I still expect the answer and come back to me when you can. And that's a beautiful feminine way of being compassionate, of going, I'm not asking you to do it on the spot if you can't, but I am also setting a boundary that I need an answer in this way and calling out that it wasn't an acceptable answer and not to my standards. Because the kindest thing you can do is hold someone to their highest expectations. And I always say that to my team. I can see the potential in you, and I'm going to hold you to that potential. And that's how I'm going to expect you to behave and operate. And if you're not meeting it, I'm going to be calling you out and pushing you up to doing that as well. So that's, I think, in a way, how I anchor myself in my feminine of being assertive, but giving the compassion of like, here is the understanding of the expectation, and I will give you time to meet that expectation as well.
Yeah. And how do you kind of allow for the other, I guess, all of the other things that play in, because you've already talked yourself as well around your ADHD and dyslexia. So how do you kind of acknowledge and make space for experiences that we all have, or diagnoses maybe that we have, or just our aspects of our own lived experience that really play into um other barriers that we're trying to overcome?
So this time of life is so amazing for neurodivergent people to be able to learn how to thrive. And it's very much that self-reflecting of what you need. And we are operating in a system that's not necessarily built for us. So as much as I can, I'll have tools that support me, ChatGPT, obviously Grammarly on all of my writing, voice to text, I'll talk to Word or whatever document I'm doing instead of typing, different things like that. There's so many websites now that actually have the little function that you can click for ADHD to help you focus on the websites. I use a lot of different colors and stuff to color code things and everything. So I've really learned how to allow my brain to thrive. And if I know if I'm going into a meeting that's not going to be able to have the structure to help me thrive, for example, it's going to be a long meeting, it's going to be, boring for my brain, I'll either put like an anxiety ring on or bring like a little fidget thing or even bring Play-Doh or something. So I can sit there, I can keep my energy moving while I'm focusing on what my brain deems a boring meeting, but very necessary, very important. But I will bring things to let my energy keep moving. And again, that comes to the psychological safety. Everyone in the team that I'm involved in, I let them know, if you want the best out of me, I'm going to have to fidget or play with my Play-Doh or play with Lego or do something like that. And also respecting them, what's the least distracting for you? So these are all of my options. I've got my fidget ring, I've got my little fidget thing, Lego, Play-Doh, etc. And sometimes if there's a number of neurodiverse people in the room, it's sometimes, yeah, let's do Lego, let's do Play-Doh, let's you all sit in the same kind of corner. And as you're all focusing, you all can be engaging in whatever that stimulus is. And that's what inclusion's all about. It's making sure everyone in the room is respected, and whoever's presenting, whatever we're doing to accommodate for those neurodiverse people, it's not overly distracting for that person either as well. So sometimes, yeah, it's like, look, that's going to be distracting. So I just put my fidget ring on, I keep my hand under the table, and I'll just fidget with my fidget ring with my hand under the table, and that doesn't distract anyone else in the meeting.
Amazing. There are several things you said there that I was like, I love this so much, because firstly, I like that you made this distinction between a meeting that your brain perceives as boring. So we're not saying it's a boring meeting. We're just saying this isn't going to work for my brain. I already know in advance. This is going to be a challenge, and I am going to proactively raise things. And I love so much that you are then role modeling, like being able to articulate, here are your options to keep me engaged in this type of meeting, and then inviting, okay, so and what's less distracting for you of all of these options, anything that works doesn't work, and role modeling the visibility of all of that, so that then you like you say, your team members or people in other teams can see this playing out and think, excellent, she gets it, which means this organization gets it. And I think that is such a hugely powerful, role modeling is really the only word I can kind of come up with, like walking the talk of just normalizing, this is how you're going to get the best out of me.
Exactly. And that's our responsibility as individuals, is to self-reflect and understand, what's that sense of belonging for you? What is that environment you need to thrive? And what are the different options and variances to be able to build that, just like Lego, and understand sometimes I've got to build it this way and sometimes I've got to build it that way to be able to include the other people that are coming to the table. And that's what I really work with leaders, is understanding the individual sense of belonging in all of your team. And then how do we take all those puzzle pieces and build team belonging? But until you understand individual belonging, you can never build team belonging.
Absolutely. And I'm curious to ask as well, when you're having those conversations with leaders, like what kind of defensiveness do you come up against? Because some people are kind of willing to engage and want to learn and understand and try new things, and I think other people suspect there might be some benefit to it, but maybe are less quick to embrace stepping out of their own comfort zone to be experimental and learn about individual belonging and taking that time to put those things in place. So what kind of defensiveness things do you tend to come up against?
A lot of that is people with a very heavily built ego and have heavily masked themselves. So they have created an archetype of who they think they've had to be to become the top of the tree. And they have got to that level of success by molding that person. And then doing this work is very scary for them, because we're literally asking them to dismantle everything that they've built that got them to becoming successful. So they're saying, you want me to give up what made me successful? But when you start to look and start asking the questions, yes, you're successful on paper, on your title, on your career. How do you go home at the end of the day? I go home and I open a bottle of wine and I have a couple of glasses and I do that. Okay, interesting. What do you do on the weekends? I just like to have a sleep in and just kind of recharge and I don't really want to talk to anyone or see anyone. I just want to like hibernate and get ready for the next week. And a few other questions. And then I'll start to go, well, at the end of the day, yes, it sounds like success on paper, but it doesn't sound like psychological well-being success, because you're not thriving in your life. You're showing up as like a fighter in a ring, doing your 12 rounds in the ring, Monday to Friday, and then you're going home absolutely exhausted and literally recovering to be able to do it again. So this is not psychological success, which is the holistic success of a human being, personally or in the workspace. So then I really kind of love working with those people to kind of get through it and say, hey, we don't have to dismantle everything at once, but let's look at step by step some of the things that you could potentially let go of, that is that really heavy weight that makes you want to have that glass of wine as soon as you get home, or once you get in the car, you're like, oh, thank goodness I'm in the car. Those kind of feelings, and have those little micro moments with those people that are super, super resistant, because it's like one little micro 1% change every day or every week is where you start over the year to get significant transformation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's those very small incremental changes that are more likely to stick as well, isn't it? Because if you
Yeah.
literally try and change an entire system overnight, I mean, anyone that's ever tried to do that in any sphere, whether it's work, business, anything, it generally is a recipe for disaster. But yeah, tiny
Yeah.
changes consistently done is that it's that kind of the parallel lines converging. Is that the right word? Or no, it's the opposite of converging, whatever that word is.
Yes. Merging? Maybe. Anyway,
But
that
yeah,
word.
the word that my menopausal brain cannot currently find.
And when
Just
I'm
thinking,
working with these kinds of leaders, the first thing is validating it's okay. It's okay to
mm,
feel scared. It's okay to feel out of control. It's okay with everything that you've done, and congratulations for getting to where you are. Because I feel often these leaders are labeled as toxic or narcissistic or all of these words we love to throw around. So I'll come to these leaders and first of all say, the system, the patriarchy system, this organization system, the society system, whatever. All of that creates who we are. Like we're in one of those mirrors in the zoo, in the circus, like it's
yeah,
all of that reflection around us. So, first of all, none of this is a personal attack on you. You've learned to survive in a system that you're born into. Now, what I want to do is work with you to take control of you. So the system isn't controlling you, you are controlling the system. And let's start to look at what that actually looks like. If we can whiteboard who you want to be as a leader, who you want to be as a person, and nothing is affecting it. Your parents, your brother, your sister, your mother, your wife, your kids, your next door neighbor, your boss, your shareholders, whoever is influencing you, if we take all of them away and you were just on a little island, who would you want to be? And I think that's really important to, first of all, validate that it's not a personal attack. How leaders become toxic is often because of the systems that have created that, not the person that was born that way. No baby is born toxic.
absolutely true. Yeah, we are 100% all products of our environment, right? Whether
Mm.
whether we are socialized or otherwise. And I think that's such a critical thing to acknowledge, in that we can only go so far as well, right? With this, with the tools and skills that we currently have. It's always that kind of what got you here won't get you there kind of thing. And it's like, if you truly want to continue to be successful, you really have to do exactly as you've suggested, break things down and have a look at, well, what is going on for me as a human person. And I
Mm-hmm.
like that you talked about energetically for people, in like, yeah, you might be crushing it in this area, but what's the impact of that in other areas of your life? How does that play out? And I'm hearing kind of a lot there around like boundaries as well. Like, are you respecting your personal boundaries for the sake of being successful in your work job, or vice versa? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how are you really respecting all of the aspects of you holistically? And
Yeah.
I love that you use the term like psychological success as like the holistic reference. I was like, it's really cool, because it's it really is kind of embracing the I am a whole person, and all aspects of how psychologically safe I feel have to be in existence for it to be considered a success.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. We don't live in tiny little compartment boxes like when you're a little kid and like the plate so all your food doesn't touch. That's not life. That's not how we live. That's not how our brains work. So it's very, very important to take that holistic look at how we are and look at the side effects of success in one area. Might mean you're actually depleted in another area, which the sum of all of that is you're not actually being psychologically successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to do a little bit of it might feel like a bit of a handbrake turn, but I feel like it's coming up for me through the conversation when we were talking about like kind of boundaries and acknowledging who we are, and the impacts of our whole lives. Because you mentioned briefly around your dressage, and how actually at one point you were just going to pay, earn some money and pay the bills and do my things so that I can have a life outside of work. And a lot of that featured very heavily around horse riding. And
Mm-hmm.
then you yourself had an accident, didn't you, in that space? So tell myself and the listeners about that.
Yeah, so yeah, I was training with my dressage coach, and my young horse decided she had had enough of training, so she slammed on the brakes and reared up vertically. I came off, and all 600 kilos came crushing down on top of me. So adrenaline kicked in. I just knew that somehow I had to get out from underneath her because when she stood up, she would have trampled me. So I kind of somehow got out, flipped over on my tummy, and army crawled out of the way because I couldn't move either of my legs at the time. And then got airlifted to hospital. And that's when I knew I was in big, big trouble because when the helicopter doors opened, there was just this like wall of people in white coats. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is not good.
Yeah, that's a
Not
lot,
good.
right? That's a lot to take. Like, even just, I mean, that's a traumatic injury
Yeah.
for sure to have a horse land on you.
Yes, I'll never forget the sound. I'll never forget the sound of
Mm.
the bones doing what they do because it pretty much crushed my pelvis, broke both of my hips, badly fractured my spine, a lot of nerve damage to my right leg, my bladder, my lower lumbar stabilizing muscles of my spine. So I've had over 30 surgeries since, brand new right hip, SI joints fused, rebuilding the pubic bone, two computers inside me to help with all of the nerve damage and issues. So literally put Humpty Dumpty back together again.
I mean, I mean, I love that you're saying this with this big smile. Like, you are literally listing all of these things with a huge smile on your face for those of you that are listening audio only. And like, I just want to take a pause because it's not funny, right? I mean, I love that you have, obviously you are okay. We know this. You're here, you're fine, you have recovered. And like you say, you've got literal computers running bits of your body. But that is a lot. That is a lot to kind of have to come back from, I guess. That's not a fast recovery, right?
No, it happened in July 2017. So it's kind of so my last surgery was February last year. So once we click into February this year, it will be the first 12 months I've had with no surgery since the accident.
Yeah. So you must have learned a lot about yourself as well, and resilience. And I mean, literally, like you said, from the moment the adrenaline kicked in and you knew you had to do something, so that, already from the moment it happened, we're learning things about you. So what are some of the things that you've had to rethink as a result of having been through that experience?
The most powerful moment that really changed everything and showed me the power of positive psychology was where my bed was positioned in hospital. I'd get 2 hours of sun every day. And at the beginning of my time in hospital, the first stint was 6 months in hospital, so very, very long time. And I was very depressed, very anxious at the beginning. And my psych team introduced me to positive psychology and the evidence-based version of gratitude practicing. And I used to get so angry with those 2 hours of sunshine. Like I could be riding my horse, I could be going for a run, I could be. And I would just get so angry. And my cortisol levels would go through the roof and everything like that. So we structured a whole process around how do we spend those 2 hours really practicing deep gratitude. So my psych team and I worked on questions to answer and different things like that. And I was reflecting on, well, some people right now are sitting in an office that don't even have a window. And here I am, and I've got sunshine. What a great time to do a meditation and have the sun on me while I'm doing meditation. And through sports and stuff, I always knew about the power of visualization and meditation. So I'd lie in that sun and I'd visualize walking again because that's what I was obsessed with because doctors weren't sure if I was ever going to be able to walk again. So I'd spend that time doing my visualization and we transformed that moment of severe anger that was fueling my depression and my downward spiral to anchoring the upward spiral in that moment. And what that really taught me, I think, compounding on the moment with Johnny, where I was like, wow, that internal narrative. The other thing was like, wow, I can control my emotions. I can recognize that anger was starting to come or a different feeling or sadness or frustration was starting to come. And then how do I acknowledge that feeling and then use the principles of positive psychology to transition that into a different emotional state? And that was just absolutely game changing for my recovery, and it's been game changing for my life. And that's how I can smile, because all of those surgeries, all of those recovering moments have been incredible training moments for me to actually apply everything I've learned with positive psychology, to actually go really deep into true gratitude for those moments of hardship. Because when I was learning to stand again and it was so incredibly painful, I would anchor myself in the gratitude of like, this pain that I'm about to experience, this challenge that I'm about to experience, is going to build some kind of strength somewhere one day where I will be able to hold the weight for someone else. And I will be able to pay forward my strength and be there when someone else faces this moment, whether it's a physical one or an emotional one, whether it's one at work where one of my team members' whole life implodes and I can show up and be that leader that can be Johnny for them. And so I'd really anchor myself before I stood up in that mindset. And then I faced the epic pain standing up in that mindset.
I mean, wow. I kind of want to just let that land for a minute for people listening to you, because that's not an insignificant mindset. Like, that is the epitome of growth mindset, right? Isn't it? Of
Mm-hmm.
just, breaking it down and recognizing, this thing is going to happen. How am I going to deal with it? And I like that you called out there that the readiness of like recognizing emotions and feelings will arrive. Like, they'll arrive. They always will. We are human creatures. We are always going to experience emotions and feelings. We're always, going to experience pain. It's like we can't not ever experience these things. And then it's our reaction to that and what we choose to do with that. That is literally, that's the choice.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, I mean, it's an extreme example. So thank you for going through that experience to share the benefit of that with other people so that maybe they don't have to.
Yes, please don't learn this via the horse crushing experience. Buy my book instead.
Yeah, exactly that, right? Good pivot. Let's talk about the book, because how it's called $1 Billion Blind Spot. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see a copy of it. For those of you that are listening audio only, I'll say it again. It's called $1 Billion Blind Spot. So talk to us about your book, because you did say before, you are an author. This is your book.
Mhm.
So how did you arrive at the thinking behind this?
Everything that we've been talking about, and a lot of my journey is in the book around my accident and applying positive psychology to myself as a leader and to my team. It's a very applicable, action orientated book. So exercises are in there, but combined with my lived journey and my lived story. So it's not an academic book. It's underpinned by academic evidence-based research, but through a storytelling lens of my own personal way of how I've applied it to myself and to my team. And it's all anchored into how much is your workplace culture costing you. So going back to that hardcore dollars of what low psychological well-being in the workplace costing you through lack of retention, lack of diversity, lack of psychological safety. So people aren't speaking up. I always say to leaders who they're like, I have no problems. No one speaks up. I'm like, that's a sign that you've got the biggest problem of all. Silence is the hidden tax that costs your company tens of thousands, millions, billions, depending on the size of your company as well. So the book's really talking about how we unpack that, going through the concept of toxic masculinity and toxic femininity as well, and how we transition into a healthy masculine, a healthy feminine, as well as understanding the concept of all human beings are united in our need for our key basic psychological needs for a sense of autonomy, a sense of confidence, and a sense of belonging. So how do we actually build that in our teams and in our organizations? And we touched on the belonging pillar earlier on. And then the other framework that I really unpack in the book is called the PERMA wellbeing framework, which is looking at positive emotions, a sense of engagement. So those moments when you lose sense of time, you might have gone for a walk in the forest if you like nature and you're like, wow, this has been 2 hours. It felt like 5 minutes. Relationships and high quality relationships. How do we build those high quality relationships, especially with people in the workplace we don't personally like? You can still have a high quality relationship with someone you don't want to go have a drink on Friday afternoon with. And then looking at achievement, how we redefine that. It's not going and winning a gold medal. It is those micro moments of success within your organization and anchoring into that sense of meaning. Why are we here? What are we doing? So, meaning for the organization, but meaning for the individual and meaning for the sense of the team as well, because there is that waterfall trickle down effect. You might be working for an organization that has the overarching meaning of X, but once you get down to your division or your team within that division, what your meaning is to get up to X is quite very niche and narrow. So really working with the teams to understand that, and then how you as a human being and your values, do that align with that sense of meaning of that team? And if it doesn't, as we've seen with my career, you need to move on.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Thank you. I love what you've just explained there, the perma model. Fantastic. So, well, I guess the main plug here then is go and get the book, because that was a whistle stop tour, and immediately we know that everything there is going to make your organization culture better. And it is rooted, as you've just said, in not just kind of the academic research that you yourself have done, but also your own experience. So this will be real life examples that people can start to implement straight away.
Yes.
And that's what we're
Yes.
all about. We were about the action. We want people to be able to do things, not just read something and go, well, that was interesting. Pop the book back on the shelf and walk away. Like, we're not here for that. We're here for that action that comes with it.
Exactly. I wrote it with the vision of it being highlighted and sticky tagged and like dog-eared, and I can't wait to see the book absolutely almost, dog-eared with so many different sticky notes and highlighters and written your own notes in it, and one day receive images from readers of like, this is what the book looks like now that I have read it and implemented and doing everything like that. So I'm really excited for people to actually just make turn the book into their book, however you like to do that. Highlighters, sticky notes, your own notes.
I love that so much. So here I feel like we've got a big old queue for us to all flood Hacia's Instagram with photos
Yes.
between now and like the next 6 months of all the things that we've done, the things that have stood out that we've highlighted, and the actions that we're going to take, so that you can create a oh gosh, what's the word, like a board of all of the different ways in which people are implementing this, because that would be so damn cool. So on that note, Hacia, if people want to get in touch with you, follow up and ask you more questions, and indeed flood your Instagram with all of these pictures, where can people find you if they want to learn more?
So my Instagram's hacia.atherton. LinkedIn is Hacia Atherton as well. My website, haciaatherton.com. So those are the three great platforms to be able to reach out to me, LinkedIn and Instagram. I am on Facebook and TikTok, but again, I kind of get overwhelmed with so much things. So Instagram, LinkedIn, and my website is the best ways to find me.
Amazing stuff. And we'll make sure, for those of you that are listening in the car perhaps and haven't got the opportunity to write this down, don't worry, it's going to be in the show notes. You can come back, click on the episode and find that. Hacia Atherton, is there anything else that you came to say that you haven't had an opportunity to say?
I would just love to finally talk about and finalize this conversation. I know there's a lot of talk out there in the corporate world about creating safe spaces. I really want to transition to creating brave spaces, because I feel safe spaces has moved a little bit to like emotional coddling, and that doesn't help anyone either. So for everyone in your organization, it's all about creating brave spaces that is built on psychological safety, which means that people can speak up, they can challenge you as a leader, you as a leader can sit in discomfort with courage and bravery, and let's make our organizations brave spaces again.
Oh, I love that. I just want to echo that so loudly, because that is music to my ears, right? Absolutely. And I'm going to come back and let you say it again in a minute, so then it can be a nice soundbite takeaway. But I do just want to say the reason that I'm so on board with this is that not all spaces feel safe, even when we're trying to make them inclusive, even when we're doing our very best. Sometimes things will happen and they're not safe for everybody. So we have to be able to speak up. We have to be able to challenge. And that is why that concept of a brave space, I just think, okay, so say it again, just so I can soundbite it. Sorry, I crashed your ending and that was really naughty of me. And I know better, but I did it anyway.
No, so rounding it up again, there's been so much talk around creating safe spaces in organizations. I'm really passionate about pivoting that to creating brave spaces. So we have space to have these challenging conversations. There's the psychological safety for everyone to speak up with respect. We can see each other's perspectives and then co-create what the culture looks like together.
Beautiful. Hacia Atherton, thank you so much for joining me on the Speaking of Inclusion podcast.
Thank you for having me and for recording it.
Brilliant callback. Genius. Love it. Love. Thank you. That was wicked. Sorry, I started talking after you, and I was like, she's ended that so beautifully for me. Shut the fuck up.
We did it great. It was good. It was good. We recorded it.
I know, honestly, it's like, has she done a podcast before? Yeah, it turns out. Really? Are you sure? Oh no.
I'm like, I don't think we're recording this because I can just get the like